Hey there, Smite fans, and welcome back. This is week 2 of the spring split for the SPL in Season 4, and last week was a little bit of a doozy. There were some matchups that went a little bit more how I wouldn't have normally expected. Dignitas being able to 2-0 Cyclone, Enemy 2-0ing Noble was actually kind of surprising to me, and in memory of Gay being able to shut down Allegiance, but the biggest one has to be the fact that Obey showed up and put NRG down. And that was probably the big moment of the week, and because of that, we'll have to look at how we see these teams doing this week in week 2. And the first matchup right there is Sanguine versus Novus Orsa. This is one of those ones that it really is up in the air. Both of these teams did not perform too terribly well. Sanguine, however, had a little bit of a harder time, I want to say, overall than Novus Orsa, having to go up against Valence Squadron here. And honestly, I think these two teams are very, very close. I think that both of them have the opportunity, not necessarily to 2-0, but they both have an opportunity to find a win here. I'm going to call this one as a split. Sanguine's still trying to find their footing in a position where they just aren't quite sure yet, and the same thing kind of goes for Novus Orsa, where they just haven't quite found that team synergy yet. The next one, this one's going to be hard. NRG, the reigning world champions, versus Valence Squad. Valence Squad right now, I mean, if you just look at the scores, it's 2-0 Valence Squad, 0-2 NRG, and I think Valence Squad is going to be very strong. Do they have the potential to upset NRG 2-0? Absolutely. I absolutely think they can, but I don't know how likely it is. NRG seems a little weak right now. Of course, I think they're going to be cracking down because this is a team that hates losing. There's a reason that they have been number 1 at the World Championship 2 times in a row, and it's because this team hates losing. That being said, I think the Valence Squadron, if anyone this week has the opportunity to take them down, it's going to be them. I'm going to personally leave it as a split just because I think NRG is going to be coming in a little bit stronger, a little bit harder. Valence Squadron can 2-0, so if you want to put that, if you think that's more likely, go for it. Personally, I just can't. It's part of that complex I think they've given me. The same thing kind of with Enemy last year. If you vote against them, then they will upset you. If you vote for them, they might upset you. So you just have to kind of hope for that middle ground. And really, NRG right now, I feel like, are going to split with Valence Squadron. I think they're going to crack down and practice up. It's potential for Valence Squadron to 2-0, and for the first time ever, I think I'm going to say I don't think NRG can 2-0 this. The next games on Thursday are going to be Luminosity versus Noble. This one's kind of hands down. Enemy, who is performing relatively decently, beat Noble 2-0. Luminosity right now could spank Enemy like it's nothing, and honestly, this one's going to be a relatively easy matchup. I mean, honestly, Luminosity performed exceedingly well against Flashpoint. I feel like Noble might be a little stronger than Flashpoint. It really does have to be seen, but Luminosity is hands down stronger than both of them, and because of that, it's going to be a 2-0 in favor of Luminosity right here. If Luminosity can destroy Flashpoint the way that they did last week, Eager has the exact same potential. This one's going to be a relatively fast matchup, 2-0 easily in favor of Eager. So while I think that Valence Squadron can make it 1-1, possibly 2-0 NRG, I don't think Elevate is anywhere near that level of play. I mean, they were able to split barely with Novus Orsa. They had a little bit of a rough time, and they play relatively well, but I just don't think that they have hit that level of NRG's play yet, and I think NRG is going to take this. Even if they perform kind of sloppily, I think they're going to have this as a 2-0. The second game on Saturday this week will be Valence Squadron versus Cyclone. Now, the coach for Cyclone, Alpha Jackal, does say that there's going to be a little bit of a performance change, that they just hadn't shown up last week, and I think that remains to be seen, and I think that would work against teams like Elevate, against teams like Novus Orsa and Sanguine. That being said, Valence Squadron is a squad of all-star names. They look very good. They performed exceedingly well last week. And because of that one, even though Cyclone might be coming back with some secret strats or some renewed vigor in their play, this is going to be all in favor 2-0 for Valence Squad. And the third match will be Dignitas versus Novus Orsa. And Novus Orsa, again, is kind of sitting at this 5th, 6th, 7th, maybe even 8th place spot. They're not quite the worst in Europe, but they're definitely not going to be in the top 4, whereas Dignitas, they are looking strong. Now, the performance against Cyclone was very, very, very good. And against stronger teams like NRG, against Valence Squadron, it might be a little bit different. But as it stands right now against Novus Orsa, I think they're going to have an easy time taking this one as a 2-0 just because they have performed so well. And the last game for Saturday This one is pretty much as easy as the other hands-down matches. It's Obey versus Sanguine. Obey's going to take this as a 2-0. If Obey can 2-0 NRG, Sanguine has nothing on them. The team, even with a lot of practice, will not be able to hit that level of play. Obey, so far right now, are proving that they are at the top right now in Europe. Valence Squadron might be giving them a good run for their money, but as it stands right now, Obey is looking strong. Okay, so now going into Sunday will be the first matchup for North America, Eager versus Enemy here, and that's going to be a very strong, again, just Eager staying as the same roster, practicing a lot, scrimming a lot right now. Enemy doesn't have anything on them. Even if Enemy can return to kind of their 5th, 6th spot, they're still kind of playing sloppily right now. Being able to 2-0 Noble isn't as impressive considering how close the games were. They were relegated. They haven't been playing at the same level that the Enemy we saw last year was. And because of that, Eager should be able to take this one in a relatively easy 2-0. So last week, I might have been calling this next matchup as a split, saying, oh, well, both of these teams should be relatively close. Flashpoint with kind of, not necessarily an all-star roster. You know, we have 2 sets of 2 members that have played together a lot. And Incon in the mid, kind of bringing it all together, but I just feel like their team is not working as a full roster yet. They haven't found that synergy. They are very much playing as 2 separate entities, possibly even 3, because Incon's kind of on his own island because of the other 2's synergy already there. And Memory of Gabe is hands down performing exceedingly well. They should be able to take this one in a relatively easy 2-0. So last week I probably would have said Allegiance should be able to 2-0 Noble, or Noble, depending on their performance, might have been able to 2-0 Allegiance, but both of them did not play very well. They both played kind of sloppy. Allegiance, of course, like everyone does after they lose, comes out and says next week we'll be coming out stronger. We played very poorly this week. And the same thing kind of goes for Noble. It's like, yes, we got the practice we wanted, blah, 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 right? What we want to know is which one could actually beat the other. And honestly, I don't think either of them, just based on their performance, has that potential. Allegiance, out of the 2 of them, I think has the most potential to 2-0. But the way they looked last week, both of these teams, they're probably just going to split right down the middle. I just don't see them having any potential to 2-0 the other. In the last match up of the week will be Soar versus Luminosity, and I thought Soar was going to be able to pull something out against Eager. I thought maybe they were going to be able to find something, but this team does not look like they are quite ready yet for where they are. They definitely still have some work to go through, and because of that, I feel like Luminosity is going to be just slightly ahead overall. And I mean, not even just slightly ahead. Luminosity is going to be ahead. I'm trying to be polite, but Luminosity should be able to take this relatively easily. Soar has a little bit of work cut out for them before they can do anything. And that's going to be it, guys. That's the predictions for this week. It's a little odd. We only have 3 days. We don't have any games on Friday according to the schedule, and that seems to be the same going down through all of the weeks of SPL right now. Just as a quick rundown through all of the matches one more time, Sanguine versus Novus Orsa, probably going to be a split. I feel like both of those teams are vying for a 5th, 6th, 7th spot. Novus Orsa might be a little bit stronger than Sanguine, but I don't think it's enough to 2-0. NRG versus Valence Squadron. I think Valence Squadron actually might have potential to 2-0 here, but I'm going to call it as a split just in case NRG decide to show up again. Then we have LG versus Noble. Easy 2-0 for LG, and the same thing goes for Eager versus Flashpoint. It's easy 2-0 for Eager. Going into Saturday, it'll be NRG versus Elevate. Should be an easy 2-0 for NRG. There might be a couple slip-ups, but I think they should be able to grab that one no problem. Valence Squadron versus Cyclone. Even if Cyclone comes in with a renewed vigor in their play, Valence Squadron played lights out last week, and I think they're going to be able to take this no problem. For Dignitas versus Novus Orsa, the same thing kind of goes as the last match. Even if Novus Orsa is able to come up, they're still sitting at this 5th, 6th, 7th spot, whereas Dignitas is looking at a top 4, maybe top 3 position, and as it stands right now, I don't see Novus Orsa being able to take them down. Dignitas taking that one as a 2-0. And the last match for Saturday will be Obey versus Sanguine. And if Obey can 2-0 Energy, then Sanguine will not even exist to them. That will be an easy 2-0 for Obey. Enemy might be able to cause some trouble, but ultimately I believe Eager will be able to find a 2-0 going into Sunday's games. Borked, which is in memory of Gabe if you're looking at the schedule, that should be a relatively easy 2-0 for them over Flashpoint. Right now, it's close to being a split between Allegiance and Noble. Now, if Allegiance decide to show up, it could be a 2-0, but really, they just both teams performed relatively poorly last week, so gonna have to call that one as a split. And while Sword definitely has the kind of names on it to be a big team, they don't have the practice they need quite yet. And because of that, Luminosity, who played lights out last week, should be able to take that in a relatively easy 2-0. I'd once again just like to thank you guys for watching. It's always going to be very fun, and actually for staying this late in the video, I am going to give a kind of special OPL prediction. So I don't watch the OPL league as much as I could, just because they are pretty late. I mean, if you look at them, they're 2 a.m., 3:30 a.m. in the morning Eastern time. But I do have some predictions just kind of based on what I saw out of VODs, things that I went down and looked. I tried my best to kind of do some research on this to help you guys out. I'm not the best and ultimate form for this one, but just going down through it, I'm going to go ahead and say Legacy Esports should be able to take a 2-0 over Daddy Daycare. Daddy Daycare did kind of okay, but Legacy Esports right now is playing exceptionally well, and I think that they should be able to take that as a 2-0. We're going to be seeing the LG Direwolves versus Avant-Garde. Now, Avant-Garde right now is 2-2, whereas LG Direwolves have only been able to play and find 2 wins, and I think this one's going to be a split. I think both of these teams are going to be relatively evenly matched. It could go either way, and that's honestly just why I'm going to have to throw this one as a split. The same thing kind of goes for Daddy Daycare versus Team Noxide. Team Noxide hasn't really been playing well, but they're also not the worst. I feel like Daddy Daycare might be dropping a game to them if they're able to find it. Of course, Daddy Daycare does have the potential to 2-0 here, but I think that's just exceedingly rare. I think it's going to be a split. And then we have Pretty Boys versus LG Direwolves, and while Pretty Boys might have an opportunity to take a game here, I just don't think that Direwolves are going to be dropping it. I think that should be a 2-0 in favor of Direwolves. Other than that, guys, I mean, thanks for watching, especially if you paid attention to that secondary little OPL prediction at the end there. I'm going to be trying to catch a little bit more of those games to kind of help people out because they have a little bit fewer matches through the week. It should be a little bit better, of course. If you are able to watch those yourself and you can come up with predictions that might be a little bit better than mine, I absolutely recommend it because, again, I'm not as familiar with those names, with those teams, with the rosters, and because of that, I feel like even though my predictions might be good, they might just not quite hit the mark every week as I feel with the SPL predictions. But thank you guys so much for watching, and of course, if you are awake 10:30 a.m., 11:30 a.m., twitch.tv/HighResTV, come check out the Challenger Circuit. We actually have a lot of really, really close teams right now. North America, I will be casting, has been very, very close. It's only been 1 week of play, but all teams right now are sitting at 1-1. They won one match, lost one match, so it's going to be interesting to see how they go into this next week. Europe will be Saturday, North America on Sunday. Again, that's 10:30 a.m. on Saturday and 11:30 a.m. on Sunday. Please come out. It always means the world. It will be on Hi-Res TV, so if you can just come in, view it, just for the sake of watching it. Of course, these teams are very fun, and that will lead into the SPL at 1 p.m., so you can watch how these games go. But thank you guys so much for watching, and I will talk to you in the next prediction video.